Hi, good afternoon. I'm taping this show because there's some things that are very important in life to know, and one of them is, for me, is for the public to be aware that next week is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. And today I have with me a couple of guests, Heidi Roy, and you are from the New Hampshire area?
I work in the Manchester office of the Greater New England chapter. I've been here about 4.5 years.
And what is it you do there?
I do development. I'm in charge of the events throughout New Hampshire, walks, bike rides, dinners.
All right, and Mr. Ken Jones.
Mr. Thanks, Carol. Always great to see you. I'm on the board of the MS Society for, now it's Greater New England chapter, and as such, I chair the Government Relations Committee for New Hampshire. So we're involved with you and other legislators.
Right, right. And, you know, a lot of people would always kind of confuse MS, MD. They kind of like put them all in one basket, so make a salad. Tell us what MS really is like.
MS is a disease of the central nervous system. And the analogy I use when explaining this to people from the ground up is that your nerves are like wires. And around a wire, inside is the conductor, and there's an insulator around that conductor. The insulator, in the case of your nerves, is called myelin, M-E-Y-E-L-I-N. In multiple sclerosis, which the words mean multiple scarring, the insulation part, the myelin, breaks down and the nerves just don't work anymore. And it can happen to any function of the body that the brain controls. So it can result in paralysis, it can result in tingling, it can result in blindness, and nobody knows for sure on any individual exactly where it's going to strike.
And I also, on a personal level, am aware that there are different kinds of multiple sclerosis.
There are?
There are different stages, and there are different labels. I'm doing well at my age. I'll just say I'm over 70. And people say, oh, you have multiple. I thought people died when they were 40. No, there's different kinds. And I can have a whole day, I'm perfectly terrific and fine, and everything's going well. And in an hour, all of a sudden, I'm so exhausted I have to go to bed. Or, of course, toileting is an issue for many of us. It can happen, and then 3 hours later, it's gone. That's the kind of MS that I have. It's either a week duration or a month duration or hours. So there's different kinds of MS, and each one of us who has MS has a different issues to deal with.
That's right. And as I said, it can strike any part of the brain or central nervous system. So it can be relapsing remitting.
Right, which is what I have.
Which is your type. Or it can be the primary or secondary progressive type, which is a more steady decline in function.
Right. So, you know, why is it important to have MS Awareness Week? Is it important?
I think we just hit it when we were talking, Carol. A lot of people don't know what MS is, and it's a big hitter. There are 400,000 people in the United States that we know of that have MS. In New Hampshire, 3,000 that we know of, and about 2.1 million in the world. Again, that we know of. Now, I keep saying we know of because MS is not a reportable disease. There's no registry anywhere that has the names or social security numbers or anything about people who have MS. So a lot of people who are diagnosed or even misdiagnosed, they might be diagnosed as having lupus or lots of other related things that cause the same kind of symptoms. We don't know how many there are, but we know at least how many.
So, and my understanding is New England actually has, per capita, a higher rate of MS than other areas in the country.
In general, the farther you get away from the equator, the more prevalent MS is. Now, no one knows quite why. Could be the climate.
Environmental, right.
Yeah, who knows? We just don't know why.
Right. So this week coming, I mean, I know there's events, maybe, I don't know, Heidi, if you could list many events or some events, or what's going on for next week?
There's
say?
a lot of events, but what you can do, the easiest way to do this is to get onto our website at msnewengland.org to check out the events. We'll be having them in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire, in Maine, and Vermont. So if you'd like to check out our website, it's probably the easiest way to.
Okay, so let me say that website again. That's msnewengland.org.
Yes.
msnewengland.org. I like that. It's almost musical.
Well, those that don't
very
have,
easy.
I find it here, those that don't have access to the World Wide Web could just give us a call on a toll-free number, 1-800-344-4867. 344-4867.
Which
I hope
we
that's
have
on the screen.
listed on the screen right
Good,
now, and
good.
we'll leave that
Oh, there
up
it is
there.
on the screen.
Yeah,
As if by
so-
magic.
And
Thank
you
you.
can call for whatever reason, if
Yeah.
you need services or information. I'm sure someone would be more than happy to help you with that.
Exactly.
Now, what are some other things you'd like the public to know?
Well, I would like the public to know that the National MS Society is the focus for all help for people who have MS. That's part of our mission. We have a lot of programs, and again, these are available. They're listed on the website. I could bore you to tears, but it's a long list. Also, the National MS Society is the focus for research on multiple sclerosis. Last year, the society spent about $45 million in research activities, and almost half of that, about $22 million, was spent in New England. There's some very active research facilities. For us in New Hampshire, we have the Dartmouth-Hitchcock Center, which is phenomenal. I went on a tour there a couple of months ago, and I was just blown away by the dedication and the numbers of people, the facilities they have. And it's the same. I've been some years ago. I went on a tour of the facility that's located physically in Brigham and Women's Hospital, but it's a consortium of all the big Boston hospitals. And again, facilities you can't believe. Just a phenomenal activity.
Are we close?
There are new things coming out, Carol. There are the first major breakthrough has been the decoding of the human genome to find out there are two phases of MS getting MS. There's first the genetic susceptibility. It seems to run in families. It seems to be certain ethnic groups get it, others don't. So there seems to be a genetic component, but not everybody with that genetic predisposition gets the disease.
Right. I had an uncle that, of course, 80, 90 years ago, they didn't actually even think about him. But he did have multiple sclerosis, but he wasn't diagnosed until he was 80 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he couldn't speak any longer, and he had lots of problems breathing and things at that, And when they diagnosed me, they said, anyone else in your family? I said, an uncle, but they didn't know it until he was much older and suffered many years. And so they said it's familial. It's not hereditary.
Partly.
Partly.
Partly. The other thing is what's called the environmental trigger. And this is, I don't know if it's pollution or phases of the moon or evil spirits or what it is.
Yeah.
But there's something, it's probably not one thing, it's probably a big set of things that can trigger this in people who already have the predisposition. Then further, what divides it into the types we discussed earlier, into the relapsing remitting versus the progressive. It's a very, very complex problem, but there is progress being made. I've been involved with the society for about 21 years now, and just a little bit before that, there was nothing for MS. Now there are injectables, as
Right.
you know. There are at least 5 or 6 injectable drugs, and on the horizon there are some oral versions, or some oral medications. Now, getting to the root cause is, and eventually a cure or prevention is what the research has to focus on now.
Right, right. And so I'm just going to assume from information I'm kind of reading there over your shoulders, lots of information. What are some of the things that you do, for instance? What is it you're best at?
My job is development. I'm the one who does the events so that we can raise money for research and for programs.
Okay. Can just kind of toss out a
Sure.
couple.
Coming up at the end of March, we're actually doing a luncheon down in Nashville with Dr. Ann Cabot, who's a neurologist out of the MS clinic in Concord. In April, it starts our walk season, and we have walks in Manchester, Nashville, Portsmouth, Laconia, Keene. We actually now have a new journey walk, which is 8 miles, out in Hanover. We have a bike ride in August out on the seacoast. We just instituted a new sprint triathlon up in Waterville Valley, which will be in July. So that's my job is to make the money.
And again, should they just go to the website to find out how to participate?
The easiest way to register is to get online at msnewengland.org or for more information.
Okay. And anything else that you think that you would like people to know?
I'd just like to reiterate that if there's anyone out there with MS who is not yet connected with the National MS Society, get in touch with us. Go to the website or give us a call, and we will focus whatever resources we have. We have lots of programs for newly diagnosed, for kids with MS, all kinds of programs tailored to the individual.
Yeah, and there are children with MS.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I remember a neurologist when I was 19, they first suspected. Of course, now that I'm 70-something, at 19, that's like 40, 50 years ago, they were still pretty primitive about diagnosing. And he said, well, my pediatrician and everybody was saying to my mother that I had been clumsy and falling down for years. And I was. When I look back now, I just don't think anyone thought of that. But now they're saying I probably did have R&R way back when I was about 12, 13 years old.
The big breakthrough was just a few years ago when the medical people developed a way to look at soft tissue. They can now look at brain lesions with MRI and so on.
Right.
But back in the day,
Yes.
there was only X-ray, and they couldn't.
Yeah, and remember lumbar puncture. Yeah. Anyway, can't tell you.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. So now we're more sophisticated, and that's the other thing I would like to let the public know. If you think that there may be a possibility that you are having problems, go to one of the good areas for medical treatment regarding MS in Concord, and Dartmouth Hitchcock, and right here in New Hampshire. So it doesn't have to be that you go to a primary care and he doesn't know, and so he sends you home with a tranquilizer or something, because that happens to so many people that are not diagnosed right away. They become, a psychological patient or a psychiatric patient because there's no rhyme or reason for these vague symptoms. you know,
It's
so.
arthritis, it's
Yes,
circulation,
yes.
it's lupus.
Menopause, it's, you know,
Yeah,
it's
you name it,
everything,
yeah.
CFS, chronic fatigue,
Yeah.
you know, what's that other one now? Fibromyalgia. And,
Yeah,
it was,
that's a big one.
I've had friends, you know, tell me that's what they were diagnosed. And a neighbor who unfortunately passed away recently lived next door to me. He was only 54 and had progressive MS, but they told her early on she had chronic fatigue syndrome, maybe fibromyalgia, and that she needed to get a hobby. And but she eventually was diagnosed with MS. So it can be very trying, and the people who are kind of going through that whole system of you look great and you're not sick, and but I know personally I'm having problems, so don't give up, because there are good places to get some care for if you feel that that's something you need to deal with.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, if contact the society,
Yes.
because you'll get an army of advocates working for you, that a number of people you can't imagine who are on your team now.
Fabulous, fabulous. And again, it's MS Awareness Week,
March 8th through the 14th.
8th through the 14th. And what do we expect? What can we expect through March 8th through the 14th?
Actually, we have some things in the works that you're gonna be able to actually see that we're out and about. There's a big push for, we have a group that's getting together that's doing something in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, so that someone driving down the road will actually see that we're out and about. So it's kind of exciting.
There you go, a surprise.
It
I like
is a
it.
surprise.
So other than the fact that I really felt I wanted to do this, it's kind of last minute. I'm hoping that you get the information you need from Heidi and Ken. If we've missed anything, you can also call me at home. For those of you unaware, State Representative Carol Williams, and my home number is 622-2565, and I'm always willing to take calls before 8 o'clock at night and after 7 in the morning. I don't do well after 8. I'm too tired. I'm not even thinking straight by that time. But except the days I'm at the house, and then I certainly leave a message. But and I will hook you up with the MS Society. So I want to thank you so much for making time to come today.
Carol, thank you.
We need
Thanks
this
for all you've done.
awareness so badly. And good to have you here. Good to see you again.
Good
And
to see
you
you.
too, Heidi. Terrific having
you.
you here. Anything else you'd like to let people know?
No,
What did we miss?
I want to thank you for your activism in helping people with all kinds of disabilities. You've been a real beacon for us in
Thank
all
you.
sorts of accessible programs. You've been
Thank
great.
you. I'm humbled. I am. You know, I didn't do it. I think it was in 02 or 03. I was invited to Washington, D.C. For an advocacy award. And they told me I had 10 minutes to speak. And it's kind of a fun anecdote. And I on the stage, and they presented me this award. And I went to take it, and I did not realize it was marble. So that was my first faux pas. I went to almost dropped it. But I couldn't think of 10 minutes to say about anything, except you don't do advocacy alone. You have to have support, and whatever advocacy I've been able to do, I've had so much help along the way, and I'm so grateful to all of you out there who've been supportive to me, and advocacy for people with disabilities, and yes, across the board, I do. I will advocate in whatever venue, in whatever area, in whatever issue. But I think coming down to MS, I don't think we can ever do enough, because it's still a mystery. It can be a mystery for so many people, and for people out there that don't have the information. Hopefully today's show helped a little bit, and I want you to come back if you think you'd like to. We can always do this again and again.
Great.
And we can break into song. We can
do our dance.
Can I mention one more thing, Carol?
Yes.
I just want to blow the horn of the state a little bit. In
Fabulous.
terms of access by handicapped people, in terms of MS awareness, we are leading the way. And a byproduct of that was in 2008, our governor was cited nationally as the MS Governor of the Year.
Governor John Lynch, yes.
That's right.
Yes. And he has always been supportive. I've spoken to him many times. We just passed a bill for signage for
Thanks to you.
parking. Well,
And Bob
it was
Moreau,
me and
co-sponsor.
we had a co-sponsor across the aisle, which is
Yep.
always good. Now if you park and there's no sign there, there will be a fine. So be very careful. If you have a parking lot and you have spaces, you must have a sign. Actually, you have till next October, not this October, 2011, but still, it's
Yeah.
there. And it's, there's all slow steps,
We continue to lead the way.
I really can't do it without a lot of help, really, seriously. I've served 4 terms in the House, and I remember when I first got there, they didn't have a seat for me. Hey, well, we have no place to put a wheelchair, huh? Of course, I changed that,
Yep.
and I do have a seat. So, so sometimes it's just empowering other people, and sometimes it's going to bat for yourself. And
Yeah.
so, again, thank you for your strength
Thanks,
and your
Carol.
Thank you.
support, and for the MS Society for always being there for us, those of us who need it. Good afternoon. Please join us, and hope to see you in this show again, and hope to see both of you come again. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Carol.
All right.